The actor Sean Penn says that there's an awful lot to be optimistic about with Donald Trump being out of the White House, but he still worries about the culture which led to this failed businessman turned fake billionaire on a TV show becoming the squatter. In an interview on the Hell and High Water with John Heilman's on podcast, Penn, whose nonprofit community organized relief effort called CORE, has been helping facilitate the COVID-19 vaccinations and testing, especially in the Los Angeles area. And he was asked if he felt things were already improving with Biden in the Oval Office, or if it was too early to tell. He said it's not too early to tell, Penn replied, but in fact I think we have an obligation to go charging into something optimistic here. Penn went on to say that the broad strokes of Biden's policy when it comes to COVID response, like the checks all the boxes for the things that we who have been working in the space for the last 11 months have been feeling in consensus, and now it's come down to the implementation, and Penn's very hopeful. He made it clear that in the past he's no fan of Trump's handling of the pandemic, and that hasn't changed. Penn said that the 45th squatter is a man who all would concede is guilty of negligent homicide on a grand scale, and that isn't a flamboyant thing. That's just what it is. Amid the country's 443,000 COVID-19 deaths to date. And while Trump may be out of office, Penn, who's had a long and complicated relationship with fame, worries about the celebrity culture from which Trump was spawned and its impact on America in the wake of the Capitol riots and the maggot sycophantic inbreeders still refuse to accept the 2020 election results. We have young people who have mobilized in ways that we've never seen before. The former President Obama talked about how, in his observations of the peaceful protests that were going on after George Floyd's death, he said there's an awful lot to be optimistic about, but none of that optimism is going to mean anything if we don't really take a look at the anatomy of not only these last 4 years, but of a culture that allowed for the last 4 years to happen. And it's been on the march, and frankly, I have a perception of celebrity that I look at as a virus of its own. And while we tend to raise the lowest common denominators of celebrity, and that's what we did. That's what we did when we got this failed squatter. That's what happened when we got this failed businessman turned fake billionaire in a TV show and made him squatter in the United States. But Penn was asked about facing criticism for his activism, despite all his efforts spawning decades now. What I've always said is when I get flack and hate is that worse thoughts have been thought of better people. He said, adding, I don't really consider myself an activist. I don't really consider myself an artist. I'm more a citizen in this world, and that's it. But he added, everybody makes mistakes, and he said, and so do I, but I would like to see less of the Delente culture. Yeah.